Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, and children of all ages, I would like to begin this program of Cricbuzz Live with a vote of thanks. Thank you, Kohli. Thank you, KL. Thank you, Naseem Shah. Thank you, Haris Rauf. And thank you, Kuldeep, for various reasons. India win by 228 runs. You're watching Cricbuzz Live. My name is Manish Batavia, and we're joined by Dinesh Karthik. We didn't expect it to finish so soon. Before you say anything, hello, Joy Bhattacharjya as well. I'm actually losing.
Hello.
I'm losing my head because I didn't expect such a big win. How happy are you, DK?
Very, very happy. It was a tremendous win for various reasons. A, Jasprit Bumrah's first spell, the way the other fast bowlers backed it up post that, especially Hardik and Shardul, was good. And then Kuldeep, we spoke about it on the show. He's a key bowler for us, and it was so good to see him do so well.
Oh yes, 128 for 8. The reason I thanked Haris Rao and Naseem Shah was because they did not come out to bat. We really hope they're okay. We do not wish any injuries for any players, but because they did not come out to bat, that is where the innings ended. India registering a massive 228 run win. That's a huge fill to their net run rate as well. But clearly, you know, the seeds of this joy were sown yesterday with the opening pair that really set the tone for India in this match.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, if you look at this entire match, there's only one phase where they got two quick wickets, where they got Rohit and they got Shubman, where Pakistan looked to be in the game. Other than that, it has been utterly dominated by India, and the way they bowled today was absolutely fantastic. It was the icing on the cake because you saw that batting, and then you said, if India can get 356, if it's a 50-over game, maybe the ball would get a bit wet. Will our fast bowlers turn up? Will our spinners turn up? And every bowler came to the party. I mean, this is the most emphatic win I've seen in an India-Pakistan match. It's an absolutely sweeping win, and it will do marvels for India's confidence.
You know, Kuldeep Yadav, with this 5-wicket haul, has entered an elite club, a club that has Kuldeep himself and Sachin Tendulkar, a fifer against Pakistan in a one-day international. It is the biggest win margin for India against Pakistan, a 228 run win against a team that was considered to have ticked all boxes. They had all bases covered. What suddenly changed?
I think it had to do with the fact that they didn't have a great start with the new ball. India kept applying pressure. Shadab Khan not standing up when it mattered for them, and the loss of Haris Rauf ended up India getting a score which was way above par. We're talking about 70, 80 above par. Yep. And that can be really hard to deal with as a batting unit. We saw the swing that was on display. So this is probably a 250, 260 wicket. And in the same breath, you got to give credit to KL Rahul and Virat Kohli. Yes, Shubman Gill and Rohit Sharma did so well yesterday. It's very interesting I'm saying yesterday and today for an ODI match. But yes, they did really well yesterday. But today it was the Kohli KL Rahul show. And by God, they were so good, so comprehensive, so authoritative with their stroke making. It was an innings that was filled with tactical genius and a lot of hard work in terms of running between the wickets. And then you got the bowlers who came and backed it up and did a fluid job. Most importantly, it was a day that was completely dominated by Team India, and Pakistan will go back to the drawing board and either look at it and say, it was a one-off, we haven't been outplayed like this in some time, or they will go and say, hey, you know what, I think there are a few areas that we need to slightly tighten up, because if we are looking to get into the semis and finals of that World Cup, we need to play better games than what we just did.
Joy, is it easier said than done for them to look at this as a one-off and shrug it off and say, you know what, just happens, it's one of those days at work? Or can it sort of derail the mojo they had? Can it completely put them off because of this loss where nothing's worked for them?
Look, I think they'll take it. They won't take it well. It's not an easy one. It's definitely a huge setback. And the match against India, the margin of victory was also so comprehensive, it's very difficult to accept. But the one thing you'll have to say is they'll just get on, because remember, they have a match probably in another couple of days' time. Then perhaps if they win that match, they play against India in the finals. They've got to be now careful in their last match, because if they lose their last match by any chance, the point is that run rate is now hugely against them because of the size of the defeat that they've had today. So they've got to be really careful that they seal their last match and do well there. But that's the point. I think what they'll really worry about the fact is that, look at that.
Whoa.
Plus 4.56. How often do you see that? And it's just a huge margin of victory. And look at one thing. Pakistan, even though they've lost so badly, they're still ahead because of how badly they beat Bangladesh.
Yep.
So you can see they're still ahead, but yeah, they'll have to be a bit more careful, make sure that they seal the deal against Sri Lanka. But I think the more important thing is that two bowlers have got injured, two bowlers who are important for them have got injured. So they'll be looking at that and hoping that is not too much of a trouble. Because I'm telling you one thing, if it's a question of the World Cup and Naseem Shah and Haris Rauf need rest, they're not going to risk them in the Asia Cup just before the World Cup. That's for sure. So I think that's the one thing they look at. And the second thing they look at is saying that once India put pressure, why could they not break the shackles? And I mean, they're batting against Kuldeep bowled beautifully.
Yep.
But I mean, in my opinion, they also played into his hands. Nobody really tried to attack him. Once he got on top of them, once you allow Kuldeep to pitch where he wants to pitch, as GK will tell you, he's a very, very difficult bowler to play.
Okay, Kuldeep seems to be the top story because a 5-wicket haul is a very, very special spell. And the Pakistanis had no idea what to do against him. They went for the big shots, gave away their wicket. You've seen Kuldeep bowl from behind the stumps. I'm sure you have a much, much better idea than most on why it is so difficult to face Kuldeep Yadav.
Generally, under lights, it's harder to play a wrist spinner. You can see slowly but steadily in the white ball formats of cricket, finger spinners are slowly going out of the picture. Why? Because people know which way it's turning, then they line it up and then they play the shot that they want to. With wrist spinners, because you don't know which way the ball is turning, and why does it become tougher under lights is because the Kookaburra ball has a seam where you can't see it as a batter once the revolutions get in place from the bowler. So then when you don't pick it off the hand, which happens a lot under lights, because under normal sunlight, you can manage to see which way the bowler is trying to bowl, whether it's a googly or a Chinaman. But under lights, it becomes very hard. So as a batter, you try and pick it from the seam. And a lot of the times, because of the way the white Kookaburra ball is, you miss that as well. And that's why it is so hard to play Kuldeep. Before, he gave time in the air so the batsman could read it off the pitch. But because he's increased increased his speed and the way he is bowling right now, you can see the value coming through from Kuldeep. He's been a consistent match winner for India in ODI cricket for some time now. He is literally overshadowed the rest that he was competing with to show that he is somebody who is a force to reckon with in the World Cup.
You know, when Kuldeep's going well, Joy, he seems like two good bowlers in one. He seems to have that kind of big impact when he has his confidence in place, when he releases the ball really well. It looks like he's doing the job of two bowlers.
Absolutely, and he's a wicket-taking bowler. The other thing is, look, there aren't too many left-arm leg spinners in the business.
Yeah.
So what happens is, against a lot of countries, and especially against bowlers, batsmen lower down the order, there are a lot of batsmen who just will not know which way he's turning the ball. So, it's an extra weapon. He can very swiftly wipe out a tail as well. And while he's effective against top order batsmen, he's deadly against the tail. So, these are also things because, you're going to have lots of matches where you need to finish off what the fast bowlers have done up front. And Kuldeep gives you that definitely.
There are two players in this Team Indian 11 that you cannot replace. One is Jasprit Bumrah. From the bowling attack, I'm talking. And another one is Kuldeep Yadav. Kuldeep Yadav literally cannot be replaced because we don't have a specialist spinner on the squad apart from obviously Akshar and Jadeja who are finger spinners. So we have only Kuldeep. Now, this is will be India's biggest wary area, so to say. Bumrah, again, he bowls at a place where the amount of pressure he creates on the opposition is tremendous and bowls in the top and tail of the innings, and he's so good through that. Now, with Kuldeep, we haven't picked another wrist spinner. So, in many words, we have to pray that he has a fluent season all through to the World Cup end because he is the one bowler that without which we will really find it hard.
He does become, he seems to have double the impact when there are runs on the board. And when you have 357, clearly it would have a direct impact on his psychology as well.
Absolutely. With the opening spell that Bumrah, Siraj and Hardik and Shardul did what they did, he was given a great platform to start with. And Kuldeep being the kind of bowler where if you tell him that it's okay to go for runs but look for wickets, he becomes even more lethal. And even though the message could have been that he literally gave away no runs, 8 overs just the 25 runs, just the 1-6 hit of him. Otherwise, people couldn't pick which way it was going, and he was consistently beating the batters, getting the ball to turn. You can see they were just all over the place. So you have to say Kuldeep was in many ways the match winner in the bowling department. I enjoyed Bumrah's spell. I quite enjoyed Hardik and Shardul too, especially Hardik. I thought the ball he got Babar was brilliant. So overall, a very healthy bowling attack at its peak form in many ways today. It was just good to watch. And also as an Indian fan, when you're looking at Indian team playing this way, for all the questions that's been raised in the last couple of months, I think this win will put a smile on a lot of their faces.
Well, that bowling card paints a really pretty picture if you are an India supporter. It started with Jasprit Bumrah. Bowled only 5 overs, but those 5 were good enough to send celebrations all across India. It just seemed like he had not gone anywhere. It was Bumrah of a year ago.
We are talking about Jasprit Bumrah. I mean, we all know how good he is, how much we missed him in Australia in the previous World Cup. Man, he is somebody who, when he gets going, most of the batters in the world cricket actually find it really hard to deal with. And you can see why he's so special, the way he is able to not only bring the ball back in, take it away from the left-hander, then went around the wicket to get Imam's wicket. Was in many ways an unplayable ball. He actually played it perfectly in between his body and just with soft hands, but just took the edge and went. It was a test match quality ball. We've seen a couple of that in the Asia Cup so far, but again, another example of why Bumrah is so special when the ball is swinging, and the fact that he's able to just move the ball with the use of his wrist. We saw Dominic Cork making a lovely explanation as to why he's able to do it and what is that small subtle variation. So he is India's crown jewel when it comes to the bowling department, and Kuldeep Yadav very close there as well, and both of them bowling so well is a massive plus point for Team India today.
Yes, Imamul Haq was struggling, and Joy, it almost seemed like lesser mortals can only do that kind of stuff in a video game.
No, absolutely. I mean, I thought Bumrah's that first spell, it set the tone for the Pakistan batting. When you have, and when finally Shubman Gill got that catch, you said it's almost inevitable. The way he's bowling, he's going to give you wickets, because what he's doing was every over he was playing 1 or 2 unplayable deliveries. And, those deliveries, the batsman is just lucky if he doesn't edge it, or, it's not caught or somebody drops it. It was looking like he's going to get wickets at any point in time. But also, following up from that, I loved the way Hardik Pandya played.
Yes.
I just loved the way it made such a difference, because Hardik Pandya coming in, that 6th bowler, that 5th bowler, 6th bowler, they start performing for you. This is a totally different side if Hardik Pandya gives you 7-8 consistent overs.
It's quite a sight, isn't it, to see Hardik Pandya bowl full tilt, and that seam was looking really nice as well, coming out beautifully off his hand. It's such a huge plus for India, because it just completely changes the balance, the mix, and the options that Rohit Sharma has.
Hardik Pandya again is one of those players that the Indian team cannot do without. Why? Because he's a proper batter, and in many ways he can bowl very well for you in white ball cricket, and hence he is also one of those irreplaceable players. He brings the balance to the 11. He generally bowls 140 plus, but today he reduced his pace because he wanted to get the length right and make sure he hits the right areas. I love the ball to do its bit. You saw him actually use a lot of weapons in his arsenal. He bowled the stock outswinger. He bowled the scramble seam, which he got Babar Azam with. And we all know he's worked on the in-swinger, which he's been showing all of us over a period of time how well he's able to bring that back in. So as a fast bowler, he's really improved. And again, Team India will be very proud of how they've gone about things in a professional, clinical manner. But all the key players standing up, and that's a good sign.
I often look at body language. It does tell us a lot, and that celebration of the wicket of Mohammad Rizwan, when the team sort of ran towards Shardul Thakur, that smile, the way they looked at him and reacted, just goes to show that they believe Shardul Thakur is someone who can give them a breakthrough every time the team needs him. And just the way he got Mohammad Rizwan out, he was troubling him, just the 5 deliveries and caught behind. What a lovely delivery to get Rizwan, Joy.
Absolutely. Again, I talk about a batsman, a bowler. Shardul's ability is not to contain. Again, if Shardul is given an agenda, when you have runs on the board, if Shardul is given an agenda to take wickets, he'll give you something, because again, he has that ability to bowl those 1 or 2 really good wicket-taking deliveries. And that's what he did. He had that freedom there, because, when you have 356 runs behind you, then you can afford to take risks. He bowled it up front. He allowed the ball to swing. He allowed the ball to pitch it up. And again, what are you doing? You're ticking a box. You said, okay, is this guy my third seamer? Or, Shami is there. I could take options. The moment Shardul's looking good, that's one more sort of sigh of relief for the Indian think tank.
It's a good habit to have, isn't it? To break partnerships. He does it pretty much every time. He did it in the past as well.
That's been Shardul's biggest strength. When you look at him, he will go for boundaries. He will bowl some innocuous balls. But in between that, he produces that beauty, or he'll make the batsman make a mistake. And that's been his biggest strength so far. He just gives you the feeling that, he's somebody who will just jog in and bowl an outswinger and you know what's coming at you. But then he'll again give you one where you're not expecting it to come that way and you get out. So he has been somebody who has the potential and that uncanny knack of picking wickets, which comes from all the skill that he's had in domestic cricket over a period of time. So you got to give credit to Shardul Thakur in terms of being that bowler who knows how to pick wickets. And today, again, he bowled an absolute beauty to Mohammad Rizwan. And you can see he's one of those key members of that team who brings them together, a fun-loving guy, somebody who's who's very chirpy and has that energy, and that positive energy comes with him, and the team seems to revel of that.
Very often when a team wins big, much like India have, one can make the mistake of sort of not looking at flaws that need to be addressed. Are there any lessons or any learnings for India as well in this win, DK?
There are a couple. Obviously losing wickets in clusters, I think that happened, and that is something they'll try and avoid, but it is bound to happen. As a batting unit, when you're obviously batting over 9-10 games, it's bound to happen. Siraj, he is somebody who in these conditions will be very, very lethal, because he's got the one to come back into the left-hander, and the scramble seam that takes it away. It didn't happen so much. So that is something that they'll not worry about, just be aware about. And I think they'll address it in the nets and see if Siraj needs some help, and if he's good, or maybe it's just one off spell, that'll be that. But for the moment, I think India has almost played a game as close to perfection, you can say, with the way they batted, with the way they've bowled, and holding on to most of the catches that came their way. So it has been a really good effort from Team India. You've got to understand the field in itself was slightly probably damp and not the best to dive and slide. So we didn't see so much of that happening. But overall, definitely you should say that this was a game that they'll be very, very happy with.
From a Pakistan point of view, Joy, their fans and supporters might be wondering, I mean, given that Jasprit Bumrah, Hardik Pandya, Shardul Thakur did what they did with that white ball under lights, they'd be wondering why Pakistan would win the toss and choose to chase. Were you surprised by that?
Look, I think the one reason they were looking at definitely was rain. And every time there's rain, if you're a one-day international captain or a T20 captain, you tend to say that I'd rather see what the target I'm chasing rather than go forward and not know how many overs I'm going to bat. So I think it came from a good place, as a tactically, perhaps Rohit also might have chosen to field. Of course, we really don't know what he would have thought. But that could have been the reason. But once India took off on the front foot, there was very little they could do. Those 2 wickets were the only place where Pakistan got back into the game. I think after that, they just sealed it, in the way Virat and Rahul batted today, they just finished it for them.
Well, it's a big win. Lots of reactions come in thinking fast. How about we take an Ask Cricbuzz live question? Who's the lucky one? It is Shivang Gaba. India's game versus Nepal was rain curtailed. Group game versus Pakistan was washed out. Another rain-affected game today. Do you think India have achieved much in terms of players' form, team combination this Asia Cup? The dress rehearsal for the ODI World Cup. DK.
It's not been ideal. We would want a full 50-over game. But India have ticked a lot of boxes. They've got their opportunities. They batted the full 50 overs in the first match. Against Nepal, they batted and bowled. And again, over 2 days in this match, they have batted and bowled. So it might feel like it's lasted long, game has been curtailed. But India have played, it's just that they haven't bowled against Pakistan in the first match. Other than that, in all the other games, they've done exactly what's required of them. So with rain looming around the corner, they've had to go back and come back and do those sorts of things. But having said all of that, it's been a happy Asia Cup so far. Yes, they were a little rusty against Nepal at the start with the ball, but then they again picked it up and got them all out and did what they did with the bat. They were chasing a lower total and they just went after it and made sure things just, were put to bed then and there. And against Pakistan, they showed why India is so well rated around the world with the kind of performance. We all speak about Pakistan being a powerhouse and somebody who you have to be very wary of, but they showed and they played a clinical game to say India are again a team that you have to look at and go, wow, they are very much in the running for the top 4.
Joy, India, of course, will happily take this win, but Rahul Dravid and Rohit Sharma are unlikely to allow the team to feel complacent, for them to feel that all is well, because it's so easy to lose focus, given what we've seen happen to Pakistan today.
Yeah, look, the truth of it is they can't, because they have a match tomorrow. They literally have a match tomorrow. This is just a league match, and they could be playing Pakistan in the finals again 5 days later. So I think they'll be very happy with what they did. I think the biggest thing they look at is saying, every one of the batters has got runs because Shubman and Rohit has got runs twice. Now Virat has ticked boxes, Rahul has ticked a box, Ishan Kishan got runs in the previous match, Hardik Pandya got runs. So everyone in the top order has had at least one significant knock. I think what I really expect is perhaps they'll want to give Shami a run in at some point in time. But I think otherwise they'll be very happy with the number of boxes that have been ticked.
Well, they started playing on a Sunday, they kept playing on a Monday, and they will play again on a Tuesday. It's a fresh game though. It is India versus Sri Lanka. That is match number 4 of the Super Fours. Will be played at this very stadium with a lot of help for the pace bowlers under lights especially. But playing 2 one-day internationals back-to-back days, how tough does it get? Because the recovery time is very limited. They'll be back in action in, I don't know, 15 hours from now.
3 in 3 actually, because they played yesterday
3 in
as well.
3, yeah.
So it is not ideal. It is very hard on the body. There's a domestic tournament, Vijay Hazare, where the scheduling is such that a lot of the times you end up playing back to back sometimes, and it is a lot of hard work. To play a full day of cricket, just have less than 24 hours to come back in is not ideal. India in many ways are aware of it, so I think they'll quickly pack up, not do too much team talks, come back again tomorrow because they'll only have time to go rest, recuperate, and again come back. So the massages will be there for the players who had it really hard today. It'll be a quick turnaround, not easy on their bodies, and hence they got to be very careful how they start against Sri Lanka. Because once the game starts, the adrenaline will kick in and then things fall in place for you. But you again want to put up a good performance against Sri Lanka, because if you end up beating Sri Lanka, you're assured of a place in the final, and that's what they'll be looking to do. Play another game of cricket and try and beat them comprehensively, which is very, very possible with the way they're playing right now.
Joy, India on a high with a 228-run win against Pakistan, facing a team that has won 13 one-day internationals in a row. Who has the edge for you?
I mean, I know unstoppable 13 one-day internationals is a lot of matches. It's the second highest streak in history. But I think this Indian team, if they perform up to potential, they'll be very, very hard to beat. They'll be extremely hard to beat, especially if they have the opportunity. And again, I believe that this team that we have in India, I think Rohit is we are best off batting first, putting big targets, and just putting the opposition under pressure. That's the way I think this particular unit performs best.
Yes, let's pull up the India score and see if there are any changes possible. Shreyas Iyer unfortunately missed out against Pakistan because of a back spasm, and that meant Ishan Kishan and KL Rahul both featured. KL Rahul among the runs, a terrific century. Virat Kohli as well. Ishan Kishan kept wickets. KL Rahul kept wickets as well. Assuming Shreyas Iyer is fit, what do you do with the 11?
I will stick to the same 11. And I say that because KL Rahul has got an opportunity at number 4. He's got 100 against Pakistan. There's no way you're going back against that. And Ishan Kishan being the left-hander who's done well batting in the middle order against Pakistan. So again, he would stick to the 11. It's come to a place where if you're in form, if you're doing well, stay the course. No need to make any changes. And I would say Indian team has to go in with the same 11 with KL Rahul keeping Ishan Kishan a good outfielder. You don't want to expose KL Rahul too much on the field running around. So it's better off that he's keeping for the moment.
If Shreyas is okay, Joy, does he come in for you, or do you not fiddle with the batting at all?
No, I wouldn't fiddle with the batting. My only thing is that we saw that Jasprit Bumrah left the field.
Oh, yeah.
I think it was just precautionary when they thought that I think the match was safe, they left the field. I think they might want to give Shami a run in. Just in whose place, I don't know. Perhaps in Bumrah's place. They want to give Shami a run in before the big tournament. Just see how he's feeling, whether the motor is going well. And other than that, on the batting, I think because they've just come set to a position. And remember, Ishan Kishan is useful because, Velalage their left arm spinner is a very decent spinner. Having somebody in your middle order who you can play against him will be pretty useful for India. So I definitely see Ishan Kishan playing. I see Rahul playing as well.
Yes, the Indian bowling's tail is wagging and wagging all right. Sri Lanka, on the other hand, have problems with their opening batters. Not enough runs coming in. This performance against Pakistan from the Indian bowlers will worry the squad.
Sri Lanka will look at themselves. They are aware that India is a good team. Pathum Nissanka is somebody who's done really well for them in the recent past. Karun Ratne has been drafted from the test team and he's done well in the limited time that he's got in ODI cricket. For me, again, if you look at that batting, Samara Vikrama has done well. Kusan Mendis is in form. Asalanka has been doing well. So it'll again go back to Dasun Shanaka and Dhananjaya. Their own coach has come out and said that they are expecting a lot of runs from these two because they're household names for Sri Lanka. So they will look at it. The one question that they need to ask, is there a way to fit in another full-time fast bowler for them? That is going to be the key because we see the amount of swing. If you're going to go in with just Kasun Rajita and Dasun Shanaka, is that the right way to go about it, or are they looking at another option? In case they are looking, who are they going to leave out? I think these are tough questions because the way they played that match looks like that 11 is the most sorted 11 for them for this tournament at least, and they will just look to play with the same 11 that they played with.
Joy, any changes for you for Sri Lanka?
No, exactly the same. I think the big problem is that you get a fast bowler, but whose place do you get it in? I mean, that's the problem because Velarage has bowled well. They're certainly not going to, mess with Patirana or Thikshana. So where do you get that extra bowler in is the question. And the other problem is that, if you've won 13 in a row, it's very difficult to, you look at it and say, this is the team that's won us 13 in a row. Let's stick.
Well, that is that. It is India versus Sri Lanka in about 14-15 hours from now. The match starts at 3:30. Cricbuzz Live will be back at 2:30. But just, before we say bye, Kohli was asked about playing again tomorrow and he says, luckily we are test players. I've played over 100 tests, so I know how to come back and play the next day. Now, those are ominous signs for anyone who wants to bowl at Kohli and is hoping that he won't be as intense. He will, of course, be as intense. Have you been as intense with your answers on Joy Factor? I don't know. Joy, it was a tricky one. Here's what it was. All yours.
Yeah. Okay. Indian Test cricketer made his first class debut playing in a Maharashtra 11 for charity. His 52-year-old father played his last first class match on the other side. One of the greats of Indian cricket, batting at the age of 52, the one and only Lala Amarnath, and his son Surinder Ravanath played with him. Of course, Mohinder Ravanath also played, but it's Lala Amarnath's birth anniversary. I mean, absolutely spectacular cricketer. Never got his due, but he's one of India's greats.
Who got it right? Let's pull up that name very quickly. Austin Takuna. Is he one of your regulars, Joy?
No, but I like his Twitter handle. Very clear about who he likes and who he doesn't like. So, Austin, well done.
Harsha has a theory.
I think I have seen his name before.
Harsha has a theory that you have about 8 or 10 handles and you've been tweeting from different handles.
Oh, no. So far, at least, that's the one thing I haven't had to do with Joy Factor.
Yes, and the magic of Joy Factor will continue tomorrow as well on Cricbuzz Live. DK will be with us tomorrow?
Yes, I think so. India-Sri Lanka is again a good game and I'm looking forward to a cracking contest between both teams.
Right, DK will join us on Cricbuzz Live. We'll be on the other set with Mr. Bhogle amidst us as well. It will be a happy-looking pre-show. I promise to make sure it's loaded with a lot of insights on India and Sri Lanka. For the moment, though, with a smile on your face, sleep tight. We'll see you at 2:30 p.m. tomorrow on Cricbuzz Live. Good night and sweet dreams.